Welcome to the 5-Minute Prime Podcast. Quick, actionable tips to master personal finance and real estate investing. In just 5 minutes a day, we'll help you build wealth and achieve financial freedom. Hey, Prime investors, Martin Maxwell here, and welcome back to the 5-Minute Prime Podcast. Though today we're going a bit deeper, so settle in. Imagine owning a slice of that trophy office building downtown, or maybe a piece of a luxury resort overseas. Not through some complex fund requiring a massive check, but with just a few clicks online, maybe for just $100. Sounds like science fiction, right? Something out of a futuristic movie? Well, welcome to the world of real estate tokenization. This isn't just a buzzword floating around tech circles. It's a potentially disruptive force that could fundamentally change how we invest in property. Now, we've talked about diversification before, exploring alternative assets like notes in episode 60, the Lien Lord secret, or even data centers in episode 62. Tokenization represents another frontier, a new tool potentially opening up opportunities squarely in the research and expand phases of our prime framework. So is this the future or just another tech fad destined to fizzle out? My point of view is this: it's too early to make the final call, but it's absolutely critical that you, as a savvy investor, understand the fundamentals. Today, in part one of this special two-part series, our goal is to demystify the basics. We'll cover the what, the why, and the fundamental how of real estate tokenization, specifically from an investor's perspective. Forget the hype. Let's get the foundational knowledge you need. We'll save the deep dive into risks and strategies for part two. Let's get into it. All right, first things first. To understand tokenization, you need a basic grasp of the technology behind it: blockchain. Now, don't let that word scare you. Think of blockchain simply. It's like a super secure shared digital spreadsheet or ledger that automatically records who owns what. This ledger isn't stored in one place. It's copied across thousands of computers, making it incredibly transparent and almost impossible to tamper with. It's the secure foundation. Now, tokenization, what we're doing here is taking a real tangible asset, like an apartment building or a shopping center, and using that blockchain technology to digitally divide its ownership or its economic rights into tiny traceable pieces called tokens. Here's a simple analogy. Imagine a $1 million apartment building. Through tokenization, the owner could decide to issue, say, 10,000 digital shares or tokens, each representing 1/10,000th of the ownership rights, and maybe offer them for $100 each. You buy a token through an online platform, and you legally own a fractional piece of that building, recorded securely on the blockchain. Now, how does this differ from, say, buying a REIT, which we've discussed as a way to get broad real estate exposure? With a REIT, you're buying stock in a large company that owns and operates many properties. It's diversified, but indirect. With tokenization, often your token is tied directly to the economic performance of a specific property or a small defined pool of properties. It offers a more granular level of investment. And briefly, these tokens generally come in two main flavors. You have equity tokens, which represent direct fractional ownership. You might get a share of the rent and appreciation. And you have debt tokens, which are more like owning a piece of the mortgage on the property. You receive interest payments. For today, we're mostly focusing on the equity side. Okay, so we can chop up buildings into digital pieces. Why should you, the investor, care? What problems does this solve? Tokenization aims to tackle some long-standing hurdles in the real estate world, offering several compelling benefits, particularly for individual investors. First and foremost is accessibility. This is the biggest draw. Traditional real estate often requires hefty down payments, tens, even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Tokenization shatters that barrier. We're talking potential minimum investments of $50 or $100. This could open the doors to direct property investment for almost everyone, regardless of their starting capital. Second is true fractional ownership. Because the entry point is so low, you can achieve diversification with much less capital. Instead of needing, say, $150,000 for one down payment on one property, you could potentially spread $10,000 across 10, 20, or even 50 different tokenized properties in various locations or asset types. That's a level of diversification previously only available to large institutions. Third is the potential for enhanced liquidity. Now, I say potential very deliberately. Real estate is notoriously illiquid. Selling a property can take months. The dream of tokenization is that these digital tokens could eventually be traded easily and quickly on online secondary markets, maybe 24/7, almost like stocks. This could offer a much faster exit route. We'll stress test this liquidity promise heavily in part two, because the reality today is often quite different, but the potential is a major driver of interest. Fourth is transparency. As we mentioned, the blockchain provides that clear, immutable, public record of ownership and transactions. Who owns what, when it was bought, when it was sold. It's all recorded. Finally, there's potential efficiency. Smart contracts, essentially self-executing contracts written in code on the blockchain, could automate processes like collecting rent and distributing profits to token holders, potentially reducing administrative overhead. Now let's add some context. The global real estate market is worth hundreds of trillions of dollars. It's a colossal asset class. Projections, like one from Boston Consulting Group a while back, suggested the potential market for all tokenized assets could reach $16 trillion by 2030. Now, take projections with a grain of salt, but it shows the scale of the ambition here. Unlocking a fraction of that value would be transformative. As of late 2025, the actual market is much smaller, but the interest is definitely growing. So, how does a physical building actually become a set of digital tokens? Let's walk through the typical process, keeping it high level. Step 1, asset selection and structuring. A property owner or sponsor company identifies a property, maybe an office building, a retail strip, or an apartment complex that they want to tokenize. Very often, they'll create a dedicated legal entity like an LLC, a special purpose vehicle, or SPV, specifically to hold the title to that single property. This isolates the asset legally. Step 2, platform and blockchain choice. They partner with a specialized tokenization platform. Companies like REIT, Roofstock on-chain, or BlockSquare. These are just examples. The landscape changes fast. Provide the technology infrastructure and often handle the legal compliance and issuance process. They also choose a specific blockchain, like Ethereum, Polygon, etc., based on factors like security, transaction costs, and speed. Step 3, legal and regulatory compliance. This is absolutely crucial and honestly the most complex part. Lawyers structure the entire offering to comply with securities laws in the countries where the tokens will be sold. In the US, this often involves regulations like Reg D, Reg S, or Reg A+. This legal structure dictates who can invest. Examples are accredited investors only, or sometimes open to the general public, and how the tokens can be traded later. Step 4, token issuance. Smart contracts are developed. These digital contracts define the rules and rights associated with the tokens, things like profit distribution schedules, voting rights, if any, etc. Then the tokens are officially created or minted on the chosen blockchain, legally representing shares or economic rights in that LLC holding the property. Step 5, primary offering. The newly minted tokens are sold to the first wave of investors, usually through the tokenization platform's website. Step 6, asset management and distributions. The underlying physical property is managed, tenants pay rent, maintenance is performed, etc. Any profits generated, like rental income, are then distributed to the token holders, often automatically via those smart contracts according to the predefined rules. Step 7, secondary trading, the maybe step. Potentially, the tokens might get listed on a specialized secondary market or exchange, allowing initial investors to sell their tokens to other investors. Again, the availability and actual liquidity of these secondary markets is still a major question mark in late 2025, which we'll tackle next time. All right, let's wrap up part 1. What have we learned? Real estate tokenization is essentially leveraging blockchain technology to break down property ownership into small, accessible digital pieces. The core promises are powerful, lowering the barrier to entry, enabling easier diversification through fractional ownership, increasing transparency, and potentially, one day, offering better liquidity than traditional real estate. Could this fundamentally change how we invest? Maybe as much as the internet changed how we access information? It's still too early to declare victory. The technology is new, the regulations are evolving, and the infrastructure is still being built. But the potential disruption is undeniable. For now, this falls squarely into the research phase of our Prime framework. It's about understanding this emerging frontier, learning the language, and identifying both the opportunities and, critically, the risks, which we'll dive into next time. So your challenge for today is purely educational. I don't want you to invest a dime yet. I want you to simply visit the website of one real estate tokenization platform. Find their How It Works section, or browse their current offerings. Understand their model. What types of properties are they tokenizing? What are the minimum investment amounts? Where are the properties located? Just spend 15 to 20 minutes familiarizing yourself with the landscape. Get a feel for what's actually out there. Next week, we get critical. We're going to put tokenization under the microscope and examine the major risks involved, the regulatory nightmares, the platform failures, the smart contract vulnerabilities, and the truth about that elusive liquidity. We'll also discuss potential strategies for how a traditional real estate investor might cautiously approach this space, if they choose to. You won't want to miss that reality check. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. I'm Martin Maxwell. Keep learning, stay strategic, and keep building one smart move at a time.